The NMRA Division 7 is proud to share this video recorded during the final weeks of operation for Entertrainment Junction. Recorded in November and December 2024, this video highlights many of the trains and scenes from the early period of railroading. There are many videos documenting Entertrainment Junction during its final weeks, and much of the entertainment and artistic appeal of the park are captured in these videos. Knowing the display was already well documented, the NMRA Division 7 set out to record and share the layout in the order you would have experienced it as a visitor. This is one of a series of videos the NMRA Division 7 plans to publish on Entertrainment Junction. This video will feature the early period of railroading. We will begin our tour following a brief message from the NMRA Division 7.
Are you a model railroader in the Cincinnati area? Maybe you are new to the hobby and would like to learn more. The National Model Railroad Association Division 7 is an ideal place to start. Everyone from experienced modelers to newcomers are welcome. The monthly meeting is a great place to meet people and ask questions. Visit the Division 7 website for more information and make plans to attend an upcoming meeting and become part of this exciting and talented organization.
Your experience at Entertainment Junction started by purchasing your ticket from the ticket window at the station. With word out that Entertainment Junction was closing, the final days saw large crowds passing through the display one last time. Stepping out of the station, visitors are immersed in the detailed world of Mott Junction. The large overhead bridge welcomes visitors like a gateway to this magnificent miniature world. Trains on multiple levels vie for your attention in the background as you quickly realize this is not like any other train display you've ever seen. Turning our attention to the right, we see the industrial district of Mott Junction. S&L Furniture is being serviced by a local switcher as it ferries a happy hobo back and forth. S&L Furniture is the first look visitors get of the many detailed buildings on the layout. Up the hill from S&L Furniture is another busy industry. Powerful geared locomotives ensure there is a constant supply of wood for Reed lumber. If you watch the trains closely, you may pick up on one of the storytelling aspects of Entertainment Junction. Here we see a train loaded with logs headed to the mill. A few moments later, a similar train comes the other direction, empty, and on its way back to camp for another load. Not far from the furniture company and lumber mill is a gorge where the tracks cross bridges on multiple levels. Mott Gorge is a great place to railfan, as you are sure to see trains on a regular basis and from time to time will catch more than one at the same time. We travel into the town of Mott Junction, arriving first at the station. Like many towns from this period, the railroad station was the connection to the rest of the world, and the point of arrival and departure for many of the town's visitors and residents. Because of the importance of the railroad to the town, many of the businesses set up shop as close to the railroad station as they could. Here in Mott Junction, we see a row of shops along Main Street. This shot also shows how much effort was put into detailing each scene at Entertainment Junction. Our last look at Mott Junction goes along Main Street again before following the road up the hill past the church and a row of houses. The houses sit in the shadows of Stingerite Mill, where the sign says, "It's not right if it's not Stingerite." The visitor experience at Entertrainment Junction was very well thought out. For example, when moving between scenes and eras, visitors would walk through tunnels designed with portals appropriate for the time period. Exiting the first tunnel from Mott Junction, visitors entered the main hall at Entertrainment Junction, where they get their first glimpse of the true size of the display. It's the 1860s, and the country is at war. For the first time in world history, railroads are being employed in the execution of warfare. The more industrial North has a significant advantage, as railroads are used to move troops and supplies to army camps like the one depicted here. Down the line from the army camp, the tracks come together in another scenic valley featuring multiple bridges. The bridges were all created by volunteers at Entertrainment Junction and are appropriate for the time period. The bridges in this scene are all wood with stone piers and abutments. When you entered the main hall, the giant bridge over the army camp was the first thing to catch your attention, pulling you to the left side of the aisle. As you investigated all the details of the army camp and acclimated to the vastness of the display, you eventually realized there was another entire scene behind you. The mine region was on the inside curve of the walkway and was anchored by Pamela B Mine. Pamela B Mine towered above you with trains passing in front and behind. The name of the mine demonstrated another element of creativity at Entertrainment Junction. Many of the names of the towns and industries were intentionally punny. In the case of Pamela B Mine, it was a valentine from one volunteer to his wife, Pamela. The expansiveness of the scenes at Entertrainment Junction was not limited to length and depth. The warehouse-style building that housed the layout allowed for stunningly high scenery and track. These elevated tracks would cross the walkway in several places by way of spectacular bridges like the one shown here. Entertrainment Junction was not just about running trains. It was a three-dimensional history lesson and attempted to showcase a wide variety of lifestyles from the time periods modeled. Still on the right side of the aisle, down the line from Pamela B Mine, was a detailed farm scene. The large stone farmhouse was flanked by several smaller structures used to take care of the many farm animals on the property. The centerpiece of the early period of railroading, and for many the most dramatic scene at Entertrainment Junction, is the Rivertown. In our tour, we've now turned back to the left side of the aisle and are looking at the main display. We rejoin the line at a small homestead set along the banks of a canal. Whether they know it or not, the boatsmen on the canal are being replaced by the modern iron horse. A small community on the outskirts of town features a stone station and a few small businesses. The passenger train must be due soon as a traveler waits at the station while the attendant checks his watch. In the background, townfolk go about their day, paying no attention to the passing train. The use of real water on the layout at Entertrainment Junction was especially impressive to other modelers, who invest a lot of effort into creating a realistic water effect without risking the damage that water can wreak. Zooming in on the front of the steamboat, we see one of the boat's crew taking a break and casting a line. Do you think there were any real fish in that real water? At the center of the Rivertown scene, a very large and meticulously detailed steamboat sits at the dock loading and offloading goods. This boat was another one of the many impressive models at Entertainment Junction. The waterways were very important to navigation at this time. Because of this, the railroad had to build a drawbridge that would allow trains to cross when down and boats to pass when raised. Having crossed the lake, we enter the town of River Bend. Yes, the town on the lake did have a name. It was only visible on the station sign. Here we see our train passing the engine house at River Bend. In the background, you see many of the buildings that make up the town. Keep your eye on the red ball. This old-style signal was the engineer's indication that he could go. River Bend was an important meeting place on the railroad, where the passenger train and the freight train passed each other several times a day. We're now on the other end of River Bend. From this angle, we can see the siding that services the loading dock for the steamboats. We can also see the paddle wheel on the back of the steamboat. River Bend was a very busy and popular place at Entertainment Junction. As we near the end of River Bend, our train passes a blacksmith shop. This eye-catching scene includes a glowing fire where the blacksmith heats the metal. Our trains round the bend, following the river up the valley. River Bend occupied the end of the main peninsula in the early period, while the tracks from the farmhouse scene down to the logging camp wrapped around the outside of the aisle. High above, passengers are kept on the edge of their seats as their trip takes them along steep mountainsides, across deep ravines, and past raging wildfires. In the valley below, the quiet town of Lyon sits along the main line. Lyon represents the many towns that popped up with the arrival of the railroads. Lyon was located near an important location on the railroad at Entertainment Junction. Behind the town of Lyon and a long wooden bridge on the outskirts of town is a switchback. This track arrangement was used to help trains navigate elevation changes in narrow spaces. When a loop was not an option, railroads would employ a switchback. Remember the log train from Mott Junction? Here it is navigating the switchback with a load of logs headed to Reed lumber. The switchback display was another great example of the educational aspect of Entertainment Junction. Because they were most common on logging railroads high up in the mountains, switchbacks were not easily observed. But at Entertainment Junction, you could see a great example of how a switchback worked. At the end of the scene along the outside of the aisle was a detailed log camp. This is where the logs came from for our log train. This scene included a steam-powered crane, company houses, and multiple figures working around the camp. The last scene in the logging camp area was tucked away in the children's imagination play area. If you took the time to go in there, you were treated to a large engine house and a pumping oil derrick. Walking past the children's area, you arrive at the last two scenes in the early period. On your left, you are riverside with the tracks between you and the water. Looking downstream, the water level route follows the river through a valley traversed by long bridges supporting the upper level tracks. The use of real water, seen here flowing through the valley, adds a dramatic level of animation to the scene. A small village with wooden houses and a larger stone house were up the line a short distance. The details of this scene included a chicken coop, chickens both inside and outside the coop, and chickens on top of the coop. The heart of this scene is the iron furnace. Coke, iron ore, and limestone arrive at the furnace by train. An intense fire would melt the iron ore into molten iron, which flowed to the bottom of the furnace in a series of channels. The resulting product was called pig iron, and it was shipped back out by rail to manufacturers who turned the pig iron into finished goods. On the other side of the aisle from the iron furnace was the town of Thompson and a long row of coke ovens. Coke ovens were used to purify coal into a better fuel source. At Entertrainment Junction, the coke ovens are built into the side of a hill. A short train shuttles back and forth, servicing each of the ovens. A small tipple loads the single hopper that fuels the top of the ovens. Below the coke ovens, a pair of main lines keep freight and passengers moving. The town was called Thompson. A detailed station was flanked by a large water tower, and a footbridge gave pedestrians access to the nearby church and the shops along Main Street. A funeral service has just concluded at the church. The casket, bound for its final resting place, is loaded in the wagon behind the horses. We've reached the end of the early period. The tunnel portal ahead leads to the middle period of railroading, where another video from the NMRA Division 7 waits on the other side. The NMRA Division 7 would like to thank the staff and volunteers at Entertrainment Junction who were so gracious in assisting us in our efforts to document the display and providing us additional information and materials for use in the video. The NMRA Division 7 would also like to recognize its own volunteers who contributed their own time and skills to this project. Thank you for watching this video from the NMRA Division 7. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel. For more information about the NMRA Division 7, please visit our website and Facebook page.